Well, here's a fascinating story coming out of India. India wants to give 500 million people free health care. 500 million people. India wants to do that. It was just, they just like announced it. Like, oh yeah, by the way, everybody has free healthcare. What? That's what India did. That's what the government of India did. Now, we're told universal healthcare. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. I don't know. Sure, we can afford a program for the F-35 II jet that costs over $1 trillion. What? A new fighter jet, because the old ones sucked. I mean, ISIS's fighter jets were really fucking our fighter jets up. So we needed a new fighter jet that cost over $1 trillion. Healthcare can't afford it. Every year, ExxonMobil gets a $4 billion subsidy for research and development, even though they're one of the most profitable corporations on the planet. But we can't afford healthcare. We just increased military spending by, I think it's over $80 billion. I think it was $100 billion in the most recent budget, which, by the way, a lot of Democrats even voted for. They gave Trump a bigger increase in the military than even Trump wanted. We can afford that. We can't afford, healthcare for people here. In the U.S., how many people do we have? About 320, 330 million. In India, they have over 1 billion people, but I think what they're doing is they're giving healthcare to all the people who don't already have it, which is another 500 million, so 500 million. So we can't afford to do it. We're a richer country than India. We can't afford to do it when we have 320, 330 million people. They have 500 million people, and they just announced it. They're like, yeah, we're healthcare. That's what we're doing. Okay, so the healthcare plan is part of the government's 2018-2019 budget, and it was presented on last Thursday, and it's going to offer 100 million families up to 500,000 rupees, or about $7,860 worth of coverage each year. So they go on to say in the article that that's not a lot of money by Western standards, but it's enough to cover the equivalent of 5 heart surgeries in India. So that's how much they're giving to each person. As part of the budget proposal, the government is going to do a surtax, and that is going to raise about $1.7 billion a year. But then they also go on to explain that they're proposing a new tax on capital gains to capture some of the wealth that's being created, because they have a market that's booming at the moment. So they're going to do a tax on capital gains, which is the amount of money basically that rich people make through investments. So if you make money through your investments, you're not really doing anything. Your money's making money. So they go, we're going to do a capital gains tax, and we're going to take that money and we're going to put it towards healthcare. Now, they go on to say, well, they have a weird healthcare system already in India where some of it's free, kind of, but then you have a private system, and there's like a network of 16 different hospitals. And what they're doing is they're opening up those private hospitals, and they're giving 500 million people healthcare. So what this goes to show you is, don't ever buy the propaganda when they say we can't do it. Well, hold on. You were just telling me about 3.5 minutes ago about how America's number one. We're number one at everything. We're the greatest. American exceptionalism is a thing that a lot of people believe in, which, of course, is a way of saying we're better than everybody. But we can't figure out how to do something that would be even easier than what India is doing, because India is giving healthcare to even more people, and they're not as wealthy as we are. Free college, for example. Slovenia has free college. That's what their tax money goes towards. We're not able to pull something off that Slovenia could pull off. Of course we can. We just choose not to do it because our government is captured by corporate interests. So, again, to go back to Trump's military budget, there was an increase of about $100 billion. And to do Bernie Sanders' free college plan, you know how much it costs? $80 billion. So in just the increase in military spending in this year, that's enough to fund free college for everybody. So whenever they say we can't afford it, virtually every Republican voted for the military budget, and then you had a lot of corporate Democrats cross over and vote for it too. So they were just like, yeah, whatever, of course, that's fine. $100 billion increase in military spending, whatever. Whenever anybody brings up free college, they're like, oh, fairy dust pie in the sky, unicorn, idiots, fucking far left, stupid. But no, it's just a matter of what your priorities are. And most reasonable people, their priorities would be stuff like healthcare and education. But since our government is captured by corporate interests, they make it so we can't have those things be front and center in our political discourse. Well, we're trying to force that to be the case. And polls show that people are already with us, by the way. That's another fact that's not pointed out nearly enough. Over 60% of the American people want Medicare for all. There's even more Republicans that want it than don't want it. So this is an issue where if you run on it and you're aggressive and you're clear, you're going to destroy in elections. You're going to win. This is why Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician, according to every poll in the country, because he's been principled, he's consistent, and he keeps talking about the same things. And final point I want to make about this, and this is maybe the most important point. So again, they'll say, hey, we can't afford it here. But they never bring up the facts about this. So, over the next 10 years, if we keep our current healthcare system intact, our current fucked up for-profit privatized system, it's going to cost $49 trillion over 10 years. That's how much our healthcare is going to cost. $49 trillion over 10 years. If we do Medicare for all, our healthcare would only cost $32 trillion over the next 10 years. So one of the smears that people do is they'll say, we can't afford Medicare for all. It costs $32 trillion. No. And the idea is, large number, be afraid. But they never give you the context, and they never tell you what the other option is. If you keep things as it is right now, $49 trillion over the next 10 years. So in other words, with Medicare for all, you save $17 trillion and you cover everybody in the country. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, which is why they try to bury the issue as much as possible. If our mainstream media was anywhere remotely in the fucking realm of decent, they would have covered this story from India and been like, wow, that's weird. They just decided like that and they did it. Why can't we do that? But of course it's missing because, hey, what's the fucking conspiracy mongering and outrage of the day? Did Trump say shithole again? Do I have my talking points to talk about Russia for fucking 900 hours? This is what they're focused on. But real serious issues that affect people's lives like this, mum's the word.